Okay, looks like we're live on Facebook once again, and it's Thursday. We're a day early. That's because Patrice is a busy man, and probably I am too. So I figured it's probably better to do it now than to be on the road and trying to do this while I'm driving or something like that. So hey, Patrice, good Thursday morning. How you
Good
doing?
morning to you, Robert. Good, good. I'm here in Orlando, Florida, and you over there in how's the weather over there where you are?
It is actually pretty nice here in I'll call it Billings, Montana. It's actually we're about an hour south on the the Crow Indian Reservation, but the weather is nice. It's about 80. It gets about 82, 83 degrees yesterday, and we're going to do a horseback ride today. So that'll
And
be
I'm
pretty
gonna be
cool.
in meetings, so I'm not sure. I envy you your day.
Well, we have our meetings. See, Patrice, you got to learn this. Is you got to scale. You got to intentionally put in fun. So we're here for 2 full days. Yesterday we had meetings. We had some business training in the morning. Had some lunch, and then we did a tour of the Indian battlefield. Today we have meetings in the morning with some key leaders, and then we have a lunch meeting with another entrepreneur, and then we do the horseback ride.
I love it. I
Now,
love it.
part of it is because I get to do business with my wife, as you know. So she doesn't want to be in meetings all day, and quite frankly, no, neither do I. But it's easier. So I'd feel guilty if I had fun without her, because especially if I'm posting pictures on social media, and she's like, "Hey, you went
What?
horseback already?" And I'm like, "Well, honey, they made me,
That made me do it.
Yes. So it's a lot easier, when she's around. So, just got to be intentional about just having a little bit of fun. And
Well, let me put my invite now.
okay,
So as you know, Gene and I started the Couples in Business podcast,
yep,
and so we're gonna schedule you and your wife and Kayleen out so we can talk about that dynamic and how you guys miss, and also talk about your couples in business class that you have going on as well.
yeah, that'd be
Uh,
cool. And we'll,
yeah,
we'll invite you and Gina out here and put you in a teepee.
TP. What's a TP?
You don't know what a teepee is? An Indian teepee. You know those the Indian
Oh,
tents.
is that what you're staying in?
No. We're not staying in one of those. But we know some of the gal. Well, the gal that does a tour here, she also does teepees. They have these two big events here on the reservation. One's the Crow Fair. I mean, people from all over the world come out here, and so they have people put up teepees and stuff, and people stay in them. And
Wow.
there's one gal, she does it. She calls it teepee glamping. It's like glamping in the teepee. So she has a lot of luxuries in there. But anyways,
Well, I stayed in a tent in Kenya. It was like a five-star hotel. So if it's like that, I'll come.
okay,
I'll come.
yeah, it probably is.
It was. By the way, happy anniversary to you and your
Thank you.
wife. Everybody is. It was yesterday, right?
It was Monday.
Monday. So it's anniversary week for Robert and his wife.
Yeah.
Robert, to you and your wife both, thank you so much for all you guys do for the kingdom, for the ministry, and for so many entrepreneurs around the world. So thank
Hey,
you so much.
pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. So hey, let's get into this week's topic, the bottleneck of business growth. And so again, everyone who's listening, this is the Ask the Coach segment. So again, if you've got a business question that you want to, we should call it Stump Patrice. I don't know, maybe that. So for those of you who have any kind of business issues that you want discussed and potentially have a question you want answered, Patrice obviously comes as a business coach and a lot of not just business wisdom but biblical wisdom as well. And integrating those two are very important. And that actually is where you start seeing true prosperity and wealth in a business, is when you lead with God's purpose and with his principles.
Mm.
So we got this topic, or this question about basically around the bottleneck of business growth. What is stopping my business from growing? And we chatted earlier right before we got on the call, is that I've noticed, and I know you notice, is that for most small business, the bottleneck for the business growth is usually the business owner themselves.
Mm.
And so that's an issue I see all the time. And so let's tackle this topic,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this is a big topic. But in 10 minutes, what do you have to say about the bottleneck business growth? And how do you identify as a business owner where you're actually the cause. Because a lot of times we're always looking at, because we have our eyes are looking outward, not inward.
It's somebody
We're
else.
looking at something else or someone else, right? So how do we even identify when we're the cause of the business growth?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, most of the time when I come into a company as a coach, I would say 60% of the time, even 70% of the time, the problem always starts with leadership, the owner. I mean, Maxwell says this. He said, everything rises and falls on leadership. That's so true. So let's talk about this call. So in terms of, so the first thing is, one of the issues with delegation as an owner is trust, right? You trust yourself more than anybody else. And here's the thing, Robert, even if you drop the ball more than anybody else, right? It somehow feels better when it's you dropping the ball than anybody else dropping the ball.
Right.
And this is what the Lord used to get my own attention.
You can't blame anybody else.
Anybody else.
Actually, I know people that will blame other people.
Blame other people. So what happens is that because and actually it is more expensive when you drop the ball than when somebody else does. Let me tell you why. Because as an owner, when I drop the ball on matters that should be delegated out, the organization have not learned from it. I'm a highest cost to the organization than anybody else. So that means that the expense of that mistake was higher because, it's kind of like using a hammer to kill a fly, right? There's no lessons learned. And typically, as owners, we have immunity, right? We have immunity. So at the end of the day, it made the organization worse, not better. While if I delegate it out, somebody else makes the mistake, here's what happens. They're held accountable, there's lessons learned, it helps the process, we get better. While if it's me, we don't get better on matters that I shouldn't be handling. So that's also trust. So to trust, you have to accept the fact that others will drop the ball, and that is okay because you do as well. The second issue, Robert, in terms of overcoming that bottleneck is resources, which is a real reality. Now, something that's perceived, sometimes it's real. I can't afford to bring somebody on. And that's, you got to first say, is that perception, is that reality? Because sometimes it's not that I can't afford, I don't want to invest the money. Sometimes it is real that I can't afford. So then you got to say, okay, if it's real, then I have to say, how do I strategically do it? At Nehemiah, we could use volunteers. We negotiate things out. Those who work have a reputation of penny crushing when it comes to leveraging resources. We get a lot done with a little resource. But if you're a for-profit organization, you don't have the same flexibility that a nonprofit have. And so what you have to do there is then be strategic. If people know that what they're contributing towards will lead to something more significant, they'll be willing to start small and let it grow. So don't just
in the for-profit world, we don't call them volunteers, we call them interns.
We call them interns. That's why you got interns. That's right. So there are different ways, and there are people who are willing to who are willing to invest, knowing there's an upside to it. So do not assume that people will be unwilling to come alongside you. But then the other piece in terms of that bottleneck issue is I'm the only one that can do it, right? That's not a trust factor. That's not as a competence issue, an arrogance issue, pride. I'm the only one. Nobody else can do this like I can. Right. Yeah, and that one you have to be able to say, is that true?
Right. Because it's not that you're the only one that can do it. You're the only one that does it your way.
Exactly.
Willing to accept other ways, which a lot of times is better. It's just uncomfortable. Even if it's a better way, the first reflex is, well, because it's not my way.
That's right.
It's good.
I told a client once, I said, you told me that you don't think you can delegate that out. He said, yeah. I said, so I shared with him a story about, these machineries, airplanes, and how to create airplanes. There's so much delegation as they occur. And, any mistake on an aircraft construction could cost lives.
Sure.
So I said, brother, I'm not sure what you're building here. It's definitely not an airplane. So, it's not rocket science.
Right.
So it's not life threatening. So sure. And then that really changed perspective. So I think you're not the only one. You're not the holy one. And if Jesus can delegate the gospel to others, you can sure enough delegate that.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think the last piece is just people have failed us before, right? That memory. People have failed us before. I've tried, I've delegated, it always comes back to me, or they dropped the ball. And so you have that recent memory. And here's the thing. Typically, what happens, Robert, is that as owners, we don't so you got to learn, how do you properly delegate? Mm-hmm. So what we do is we believe that delegation does not relinquish you of your responsibility. So if I delegate something to you, I have to follow up to make sure you truly own it until where you're truly walking it effectively, right? And so typically what owners do is that they delegate as last resort. They're tired. They want to get rid of it. It's almost like, take it. And so they don't properly delegate. So what happens is that the person who they delegated to has not been properly trained, has not been given full responsibility, because you can give them the authority. You can give the responsibility without the authority. Right. So it's partial delegation. So as a result, it has not occurred properly. So they're set up to fail. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, for instance, let me give an example. Let me give you a good example and a bad example. So one good example, I'm going to use us as an example. One bad example is, which is worked out, but not as it should. We delegated to you purpose and profitability. Mm-hmm. Right. But here's what we've not done. We've not looked back in, right? And that's really what happens is that so if you got a Robert who was self-sufficient, right? Who can really own something, you don't look back in to say, okay, let's talk about how this sounds a strategy. To say, hey, how can we, right? But think about if it's not a Robert, then what happens? Right. It doesn't happen well. We say, well, they dropped the ball. No, you did not properly delegate. That's what happened, Robert. And then an example of doing it well is you and a team of trainers just recently finished an executive program, mm-hmm. Right? And so I was a part of it. And what I've been doing is kind of pulling myself out of classes that are not necessary, but yet the system still supports it so that it has the same value and priority as though I was involved, but except I'm not. And that's the thing, is that as owners, we got to say, okay, when you delegate something, do you withdraw? Somehow we delegate the thing and we pull out all the resources, quote unquote, mm-hmm. Right? It doesn't have the shine anymore. Right. So it's set up to fail. Right. Or we delegate it, but we don't follow through to its success. So we have a history of bad delegation, which create this historical tape in our head that says it'll never work, it can't work, we tried, been there, done that. No, you've not tried, you've not done it well. That's why you're not being able to delegate it properly. So that's that bottleneck. So you've got to trust, right? You've got to overcome pride, mm-hmm. Right? And you've got to do it right. Mm-hmm. And then also you got to be willing to see the resource. Yeah, you need a coach. And you need to see the resource as an investment and not an expense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely, that's why I had that last piece of that. You definitely need a coach to come alongside of you. Yeah. Because, you can't see your own blind spots. And exactly. It's so easy to revert back to the norm, which is do it yourself. And so definitely.
And here's the power of coaching. So yesterday you went to Mexico, recently you went to Mexico for us. And you came back, you had a session with Lisa Patrice. It looks like Nehemiah Mexico are conflicted in terms of what they can handle, what they can't, and so forth, so on. We had a conversation. Mm-hmm. And then we talked about it, and you said, have you ever thought about so-and-so, as a director of Nehemiah Mexico? And I took what you said. Now, we've thought about that person, but we were thinking later, not now. Mm-hmm. Took what you said. I talked about it with them and the team. I said, I had a meeting with Robert. Robert shared and so forth. What do you guys think? And Robert Next week, she's been announced as director of Mexico.
Okay.
Now, talking about coaching, it took somebody on the outside, you being a coach, to come alongside and say, you know what? Hey, here's what I've noticed. What do you guys think about this? What are you doing here? And that expedited a process that I thought about, but I was saying, well, maybe it's not time yet. Let's wait. Right? And so you can't see your own blind spot. You always need that person on the outside to come alongside to make a recommendation. But here's the key, though. We have to listen.
Right. Exactly.
And we have to do something about it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for listening, Patrice.
Well, that's, it worked. I mean, and here's the thing, too, is that from what I heard from Deborah's there right now. She's working that execution. Her job is to, by the time she comes back, that she has her there as director. And Deborah says to Patrice, it looks like she was ready for this and she wants this. Mm-hmm. We had a few meetings with her and so forth. So it's now, if you would have said to me then, Patrice, do you think it's time? I would still say, I'm not sure. Definitely said not yet. But because of the meeting with you, I went back and I vetted it. I said, okay, guys, here's what I heard. What do you think about this? And that I talked with the gal and so forth. I said, hey, I talked to Robert. He thought this and so forth. What do you think? And here we are. Next week, we're going to have a director for Nehemiah Project Mexico.
Cool. Awesome. Good. So this is a great example. You got a firsthand account, everyone. So even a coach needs a coach, right?
That's a mouthful. Every coach needs a coach.
I had a similar experience a couple of years when I first launched, consulting full time. I was part of a mastermind group, and similar experience. They would say, I present my issue, and they'd lay things out. Oh, have you thought about this? Or have you thought about doing this and that? I'm like, yeah, I thought about it, but I put it in the back burner. It's like, I figured later, or I don't know, I'm not ready for whatever reason. And then I'm like, all right. Obviously, maybe it's something I should be intentional about doing, because a lot of times I think coaches just look at see the obvious, and for whatever reason, as the business owner, we're not doing something that we know we should be doing, and we have all these excuses. But when someone from the outside says, this is what you should be doing, and you're like, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Because really, true coaching is about validating what instinctive is on the inside of you. Mm-hmm. It's about drawing out of you and holding you accountable to execute it.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Cool.
It's empowering you to do what you should be doing anyway.
Right. Exactly. Well, Mr. Chief Serving Officer, great topic, great segment. I hope we even got a few people that are live with us. So I'm glad, hopefully they got something out of it. I'm sure they have. Otherwise, they would have logged off earlier. And for those of you listening or will be listening on the recording, please, if you have a question, let's ask Patrice. I mean, there's no question too big or too small, and just go ahead and ask it. We would love to be able to answer some real-time questions for those of you. And this, again, I shared this in the first time we did this Ask the Coach segment, is that you're getting free coaching. so take advantage of it, and you get it from Patrice and hear it live and on the air. And obviously the issues, a lot of times these questions that people have are questions that other business owners have, or facing the same situation, or will face the same situation, right? And so please, everyone, please leave your comments in there, or you can even do a private message to Nehemiah, and we'll get it and we'll answer it on a future segment. So Patrice, thanks again for being on. This is great. I know you're a Facebook Live. I don't know what you want to call it.
I have drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, because there's other things you're doing on live with the couple.
If the Russian can do it, I can too.
Yeah. All right. Well, God bless Patrice. God bless everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. God bless.